What's up, tubers? Welcome back, all 6 of you who watch my videos. I appreciate it. I have parts for multiple cars, so let me give you a quick update. Most of the parts that I have are for the Ferrari, but I've made some progress on the old wagon, shaggin' wagon there. So let me show you what that thing's looking like. Check it out. I got my front wheels and tires mounted, and I need to work on getting the backs set up. I took some early measurements and it looked like I'm gonna have to push my axle in a little bit. We'll see. I mean, these are fitting pretty good right here, and I rolled this lip on both sides, but I'll get the other ones mocked up probably later today to kind of see where I'm at. But I'm really happy with the way the fronts turned out. They are skinnies. We used to call them pizza cutters when I was in high school. We used to make fun of cars that rode around on these. If you didn't see it before, I have my surfboard finally done and mounted on top. Hey, it looks pretty cool. You know, this is just my little beater cruise around car. That's pretty much how I live my life. And of course, it's the grocery getter edition. Also a little progress here on the Model A, check it out. So I ditched the turbo intake manifold carb setup, all that good stuff, and I got my piece welded back in, or tack welded back into my firewall there. And I went with a just a carbureted intake manifold with a Holley carb. So that's a 2-barrel carb. That is an Esslinger, I hope I said that right, intake manifold. And of course I have lots of room now, so nothing's going to interfere with the steering. And then on this side, you know, you can see where I kind of got all the wiring mocked up. I've had this motor fired up actually for a few seconds with the old intake manifold. So now that I have this new one on there, I just got to plumb the fuel line, and I'll probably be able to start this thing here pretty soon and have it running. As for the interior, you know, I left everything pretty much stock with the exception of the stuff that I had to change out, which was the steering column, steering wheel, full pedal assembly, and of course the shifter. But I made new floors, so those are in. Now I'm just kind of finding a good spot for my gas pedal. Then I'll start tucking some wiring in there, and I'll have a pretty much completed interior. And finally, the stars of today's episode, my new parts from Sue Performance UK. Now, all of this showed up in 2 very large boxes that have been broken down over there. But these are my brand new wheels for the Ferrari. These are true 16-inch wheels. 16 by 7 up front and 8s are going to be in the back. Here are my wheels. Look at that. Ooh. Ah. Yeah, these things are going to be pretty darn cool. Let's see. So they are painted silver. You know, and that's okay. My car's a driver, so you know, these are gonna be way better than what's on there. And I have new center caps. They're in one of these boxes. I also got a set of these fancy little racing pedal covers. Those make your car go really, really fast. These are usually referred to as go fasters, and that's why. Got my little prancing horse. That's gonna go on my ashtray cover in the center console because my other one was missing his tail. And my brand new master cylinder. Ooh, look, fast Ferraris. If you are super sharp and you've already noticed by now that there is a vehicle missing from the driveway, and that is my 1995 Ford Lightning. I didn't intend for it to leave. Someone just reached out on Facebook and was interested in the truck, and turns out, you know, it was kind of a bucket list dream vehicle for him, same as it was for me, and he talked me into selling it. So it has gone to a new home, actually out in California. So if you live in Central California, Southern Central California, I believe, you may see that truck ripping around that area. So I got rid of the truck, and did I replace it with anything? I have not yet. Well, yes and no. I was searching for the last couple weeks for a Fox body Mustang. Even though I have the wagon and technically it's a Fox, I have always been, get out of here. I've always been interested in a notchback coupe. Went to see one in person. I thought it was going to be the one. Like, I was ready to throw down the money and drive that thing home. Turns out it had rust in the A-pillar. I mean, big holes of rust. And I'm not sure if the seller just thought I wasn't going to see that and decided not to disclose that before I drove all the way out there. I don't know. You know, that's a marketplace thing. I'm going to have to do a separate video on marketplace ads and the do's and don'ts, because there are some monkeys out there, and the stuff they post and the way they post it and the pictures, they should be kicked in the nuts. I digress. Anyway, I ended up finding a car that I like. I will give you the scoop since you're watching this video. It is not a notchback. I went in a little bit of a different direction, but the car is in Florida and I've already set up shipping, so we'll see. Maybe in a week or so I should have that car here. And of course, I'm going to make a video and show you. I took this car to Italian Car Fest last weekend over in Grapevine, and I had to be the schmuck that trailered his car because the brakes on this thing have just been so, you know, just unreliable, and I've rebuilt the system. What we found out was the master cylinder, I guess the fluid is leaking past one of the seals in the master cylinder. So when you apply the brakes kind of in a slow, steady motion, it's allowing that fluid to go around that seal. If you just hammer them real quick, it's going to catch. Well, obviously, I'm not going to go around driving my car and slamming on the brakes every time I need to stop. I'm going to end up looking like a squid. I just decided to pull the trigger, buy a brand new master cylinder, have it shipped over here, and I'm just going to get that swapped out today. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that is going to solve my braking issue with this car. Then I can get my tires ordered, and then hopefully this week get those mounted and put on the car. It'd be nice to actually have real tires, not a funky metric size tire that, you know, there's like one place in the United States that makes them, so obviously they get to set the price. I'm kind of set up here to get started, so what I'm going to do is use my little turkey baster tool and remove the fluid that's in this reservoir. You got to be very, very careful when you've got fluid near paint, because if this fluid gets on that paint and it stays there for any time, it's going to ruin it. So I'm just going to throw it in my little used fluid bottle right there, and then I'll be able to remove this reservoir. Oh, look, I made a little cover finally for my battery. That's totally factory. There's a master cylinder on this bad boy. So unlike most cars, this whole assembly is in sideways. It's not too difficult to get off, but it is kind of a booger to get to one of those nuts on the back side on the bottom there. All right, I'm gonna pull lines, pull the nuts off, and get this thing out. There's the old one. There's where it came out of. Let me get you a light in there. You can kind of see. So there's not a lot of room. You have to push it down, you know, between these hoses right here for the AC lines, and then kind of finagle it out. But this thing is dry, which is excellent. That tells me that the booster has not been compromised by any fluid coming out of the back of my rebuilt master cylinder. So that is a great sign. I think, honestly, it's this bushing that's on the inside here, the seal at the end. I had to reuse one of them because the kits that I bought did not come with all the right ones, and it was going to be a while before they shipped me one. So here I am thinking, oh, I'll be okay, it's just one. But that is not the case. So, you know, I always say do it right the first time, and in this case I rushed it and it bit me in the ass. I'm going to car bleed the new one, not bench bleed it. Basically, I'm going to put it in, and I've got a little setup with some fittings and hoses that go back into the master cylinder. I'm just going to use the brake pedal to bleed that master cylinder right here on the car. I swear my garage looks like I could build an entirely new car just from all the parts laying around. It's ridiculous. All right, here is the new master cylinder. Very nice. It looks like it's already got the rubber pieces in there that I need, so that's good. Not like it's hard to change, but it's always nice to have those. And everything is good to go. Everything looks exactly the same. So I got the right one, thank goodness. Before I go and stick it on the car, I need to double check. They look right, but I want to make sure. Yes. Okay. So I want to make sure that this piston sticks out the same as this one, because that's my old one, because the little plunger inside the brake booster is already adjusted out for this. And if this were shorter, I would have to readjust it, or if this were longer, I'd have to adjust it in, but we're good to go. So the master cylinder has been bled. This is how I do it. You can do it both ways, on the bench or on the car. But if you're doing it on the car, basically I just rigged, two little short lines with hoses going back in, and then I had my wife sit inside the car and just slowly press the pedal and do it a few times until all of the air is out of that part of the system. Now I just undo these and let more air in as I put the original lines back on. Then I'll fill it up, pull the wheels off, and actually bleed the entire system. Back together again. It's like deja vu. So before I push this thing out and put it up on my little quick jacks here, quick jacks? Yeah, quick jacks. I'm gonna go ahead and do my pedal covers and my little prancing horse, just because I feel like taking a break from that. If you remember some of my early videos of this car, you would have seen that my seats were absolute garbage, especially the driver. It was trashed, and I just had these reupholstered. Shop did a fantastic job. I mean, it looks like it would have come from the factory, thank goodness. So my poor pedals are in need of some shiny stuff, and my little prancing horse is missing his tail. That took me quite a while, and the hardest part was getting in there to drill the holes for those screws that go through. This pedal, the clutch pedal, for some reason already had 2 holes and they lined up perfectly. The other ones did not. But there's the end result. I think it looks pretty darn good. I mean, you really won't see it unless you're really looking down like that into the car, but hopefully it will give me a little bit of grip on those pedals now. Last thing to do is just bleed the brakes again. I feel like this is probably like the 7th or 8th time that I've done that process. But I hope that this is the last time with that new master cylinder, rebuilt brake booster. There's really nothing else other than, any of the calipers leaking, which they're not, so fingers crossed. So I'm gonna bleed the brakes and take her for a test drive, and hopefully that is it. There's my new horsey. Look at that. Tail and everything. Woohoo! Let me get this thing backed out, up on the lifts, bleed the brakes, and then we'll call it a day, and hopefully she'll be good. I can take her to a little local car show tonight. Thank you for the few of you that watch these videos. I really appreciate it. Stay hungry, stay foolish. I have brakes. They work. I have a good pedal this time. It doesn't go all the way to the floor, and the car stops like it should. And now I'm not afraid to actually drive this thing.